Hi guys, got some fun today. I bought a Mosin Nagant at a gun show recently, and they've gone up in price. They aren't $60 anymore, which is honestly a little bit disappointing, but still, for the price, they're a pretty decent rifle, and you can find ammo pretty well anywhere. In fact, there are even new manufacturers of the ammunition for it in Germany making hollow points. Walmart carries Russian tool ammo, which is not the highest quality and is a steel casing, but it's still there, and in a pinch, well, something that big going that fast is not going to feel great. So, wanting a little bit more accuracy out of this than straight iron sights, which were honestly quite good out of the box. This particular model is a Tula made in 1940, which you can see here. I've tried to focus in on that before and trying to make a video like this, and it just doesn't focus well enough for you to see. It's a star with an arrow facing towards the front of the barrel, just as a good description of that. Anyway, I bought a Mosin Nagant Tactical Tri-Rail manufactured by UTG. And they give you some pretty cool stuff. It feels pretty well cast, fairly well formed. It doesn't feel flimsy at all. They give you the option of mounting these side rails or not, as you so choose. And should you have the M44, the carbine variant, they give you a shorter plate. Now, because I've tried to make this video before and had limited success, I've already removed my rear sight and the leaf spring that goes under it. So, for all intents and purposes, you take a punch, preferably a straight punch or a small screwdriver like this. You come in from one side. Only one side will work, as far as I know, because the pin is designed a little bit different. You push it in here at the base of the rear sight. You tap it in with a hammer. You pop the pin out. You pull the screwdriver out, hold the sight down so it doesn't go flying. You pull that out, you take the leaf spring out, bingo. Okay. Some of these are going to require modification because this little piece here sits in where your leaf spring would go and sits up in there. This sits here, but these screw holes are meant for screws to go through where that pin went. And if it doesn't line up quite right, you may have to grind this surface here down. I had one of those, and I tried a Dremel, which, as you can probably see, didn't work out quite so well. In the end, I ended up using a simple hand file. It worked pretty well. Just be gentle with it, try and make sure it's flat. You have to just kind of peek through there to make sure it's all lined up. Okay, now this slips in here and has that little tongue to grab in where the rear sight used to. Set this on top, have shorter screws that come with it, and those will slip in there. They also provided 2 Allen keys for this, or Allen wrenches, whichever you prefer. Just get those started, a few threads on there so they're not completely loose, because whenever you're putting something together like this where everything has to line up, you don't want to snug everything until you've got at least better than half of the screws started. Okay. Take the smaller screws they give you here. They're fairly long, definitely noticeable, and should go in the sides here. Pretty easy to start in. And if they're at a weird angle, you need to do more grinding. If they're off at a skew like that, just barely biting in, you're going to cross thread it. It's not going to work well. Okay, now we have these in. Those are one of the primary mounts. We'll get those at least sort of close to snug. And then we'll snug up the top here. You don't have to over-tighten these, just be fairly firm with them, because obviously you don't want them backing out on you, because that will result in a unzeroing or loss of pinpoint accuracy from whatever scope you mount on here. Now, let's be honest, you don't want to put a $600 Leopold scope on this rifle. It just isn't worth it. I picked this one up for about $200. So it just is not worth that $600 scope. Okay, and this piece here just sits on top. It actually has a groove right here that lines up with a post on this. So when you go to set it in here, it should sit fairly nicely in there. The top holes here should just line right up. Drop these screws in, large Allen, get them started, a few threads, move on to the next one. Pretty simple. I assume most of you know how Allens work if you're messing with a gun. Okay. Okay, and there you go. That's a single rail, which probably is all I would really ever need with this, because I just need a scope. I don't need some fancy laser attachment or whatever else. I plan on using a mil-dot scope, so I won't need to have any sort of fancy rangefinder, because you can obviously do a range calculation with mil-dot, because that's what it's designed for. If, however, you decide you really want the side rails for whatever reason, they just kind of set right on there nice and easy. That's held on there pretty well, and then they give you these smaller screws. They're of the smaller key that they give you, and you just screw them in there. Just the same. There's 2 of them. I'm not going to do that though. Okay. I'm sure I'll be back at some point with a review. I'm going to take a BSA scope and mount it on here, and then get that zeroed in and shoot a few rounds with it, test the accuracy obviously from a bench to make sure it's as good as it can be. And then I'm going to come back several months later just to test, because there have been questions of the BSA model scopes holding a 0. I personally think it'll probably be alright, and if it isn't, I know I can get in contact with BSA and say, hey guys, this isn't holding a 0. But as far as that goes, we're going to give it a shot, and I'll see you guys later.